Welcome to the Avaya ACE Web Services Trainer video guide, Part 2, Making Two-Party Calls. Part 2 of the Avaya ACE Web Services Trainer video guide uses the trainer to demonstrate how client applications can invoke the Avaya ACE Web Services to initiate two-party calls. Avaya ACE supports two versions of the third-party call control web service, namely version 2 and version 3, both of which can be used by client applications to initiate two-party calls. Whether you choose to use version 2 or version 3 to make a call depends on a number of factors, including the desired call setup behavior, whether you want click to dial or click to call, which service provider protocols are available in your environment, whether it's SIP only, TR87 only, or both, and the control features you might want to apply to the call after it has been initiated. This part of the video guide demonstrates and contrasts the different call setup behaviors produced by versions 2 and 3 of the third-party call control web service. In part 4 of the video guide, you'll learn about the different call control capabilities that are available depending on which version was used to initiate the call. I'll start by demonstrating how to initiate a call using third-party call control version 2. The first thing I need to do is to select a URI format for the calling party address. Notice that I can select either the SIP or TEL format because the web service is supported by the Avaya Aura SIP and TR87 service providers. In this case, I'll select TEL and enter the calling party's extension number 20081. Next, I enter the called party's extension 20082 and click Make Call. The calling party device automatically goes off hook and the called party device starts ringing. When the called party answers, the call is established. This is known as click to dial behavior. The terminology derives from a common implementation of Make Call functionality that enables a user to initiate a call by clicking on a contact address displayed in a browser or other graphical user interface. The content of the SOAP request generated and sent by the trainer and of the SOAP response returned by the Avaya ACE web service are displayed in the SOAP messages control. Inspecting these messages helps you understand the web service operations, their signatures, and possible success and error responses. The outbound message contains the SOAP request content sent by the trainer to the third-party call control web service. The body of the message defines which operation is to be invoked, in this case, make call, and the parameters to be passed in, which in this case are the calling party TEL URI and the called party TEL URI. The inbound message contains a SOAP response from the web service. The response defines the result of the request. In this case, the request was successful, so the result includes the unique call ID assigned to the call, which can be passed into subsequent web service requests to identify the call you want to control. This call ID is added to the active call sessions list. Now I'm going to use the trainer to initiate a two-party call using the third-party call control web service version 3. The first thing to notice is the different terminology on the user interface. Instead of calling, we have participant 1. Instead of calls, it's participant 2. And instead of make call, it's make call session. The reasons for the differences in terminology will become apparent as you proceed through the video guide. Also observe that when I move my mouse over the make call session button, the participant 1 input field displays yellow, indicating that it is mandatory, but the participant 2 field displays dark grey, indicating that it is optional. This is because version 3 can be used to initiate calls with only one participant. We'll investigate one-party calls in part 4. But for now, I want to initiate a two-party call, so I start by selecting the calling party's URI format. Notice that I can select SIP, but not TEL. This is because the third-party call control version 3 is supported by the SIP service provider, but not by the TR87 service provider. So I'll select SIP and enter the calling party's extension 20081, then the called party's extension 20082, and click Make Call Session. Notice that it's the calling party's device that starts ringing, but that the called party's device is not yet alerted. To establish the call, the calling party must answer. The call party's phone then automatically starts ringing. When the called party answers, the call is finally established. This is known as click-to-call behavior. So, whether you use the third-party call control version 2 or version 3 in your own applications depends partly on whether you want click-to-dial or click-to-call setup behavior. Click-to-dial is more efficient in that there are no manual steps involved for the calling party. But beware, if the calling party isn't physically at their device, it could result in the called party receiving a silent call. In contrast, click-to-call requires additional steps, but guarantees that the calling party is available at their device because they have to pick up before the called party is alerted. Before we end this part of the video guide, let's take a look at the SOAP messages that were exchanged when the call was initiated using version 3 of the third-party call control web service. The outbound message shows that the request invoked the make call session operation on the third-party call control version 3 web service, passing in the SIP URIs of both call participants. Notice that the trainer automatically appends @avaya.com to the selected formats and extension numbers to derive the valid SIP URIs. If you want to run the trainer against your own Avaya ACE or environment with your own domain name, you'll need to edit the domain value at the ACE settings dialog. The Change Media Not Allowed parameter determines whether or not the participants in the call will be allowed to change its media type after it is established. You can set this value to true or false in your own applications, but the trainer automatically sets it to false and does not allow you to change it. The response from the web service includes the unique call ID assigned to the call, indicating that the make call session request was successful. As before, the call ID is listed in the active call sessions control. That ends this demonstration of how to make two-party calls. Next, watch part 3 of the video guide, which uses the trainer to demonstrate how Avaya ACE Web Services clients can get information about the status of active calls that they wish to monitor or control.